What year were you diagnosed? How did you react when you found out?
I was diagnosed in 1982. The doctor told me that to get my affairs in order, if I'm lucky, I've got 5 years. So, cashed in all my insurance policies, maxed all the credit cards out. My partner sold his house, and we went splurging and having a great time. And little did I realise 35 years later I'd still be here.
So considering that it hit the gay scene as hard as it did back in the day, did you lose many friends or loved ones?
I did. Some when I came back to Melbourne eventually in '92, and looked up. I'd lost contact with a lot of people, as you do when you work overseas, and that horrified me. I didn't realise how bad it was. I don't know whether it was denial or lack of information, or the fact that I was in Saudi Arabia and then a small island in Greece. It might have been a form of denial, but coming back to Melbourne was a real shock, awful time. And there was still a lot of paranoia and people scared. And I did tell some friends, and I remember going out for afternoon tea, and they gave me paper cups and plates, which I remember very clearly and didn't comment on. Maybe a weakness. I should have, said something. But people were very scared.
Look at lack of knowledge back in the day. So many people really being given a death sentence and not knowing how long they would be around for. Did you experience that when you were first diagnosed?
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 1987, and back then it took many weeks to get your test result.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I went in, the doctor said it was unavailable, and the second time the same thing happened. I went into outpatients, and the third time they said to ring up and just make sure to ring before you come in. And the receptionist said, "I'll put you on to doctor." The doctor said to me, "Well, if I asked you to come in again, you're probably going to know anyway." And he told me I was positive on the telephone. And I remember at that time, just my partner was in the next room, and not knowing anything about it, just that we were thinking that we were going to die. And then when we did go into hospital, we were told that usual prognosis of about 2 to 5 years to live.
So medications at the time were a little bit of trial and error. How did you find your experiences?
We didn't have any medications. I realised those early 80s there was nothing. But I think a lot of us probably live 6 or 7 years before the actual AIDS-defining illnesses happened. And about 88 we had a drug called AZT. That was a problem because they didn't know how it was a failed cancer drug, and they gave us 3 or 4 times too much. So people like me ended up with massive wasting of the arms and legs.
And a lot of people were killed.
By it, yeah. And it became a real problem because people decided if AZT does this to people, I'm not taking anything else.
The disclosure thing was really difficult. I found it really difficult. The fear of rejection was pretty huge. It took me quite a while to tell friends as well too. I told 1 or 2 close friends, but a lot of other people I just didn't want to tell. It wasn't relevant, I suppose, and I was scared of it getting around to too many people. I did tell a few people at different times, and some coped okay, but I actually then really tried to restrict my sexual contacts to other POS people because I didn't feel comfortable or safe just revealing to other people, and the rejection thing was pretty hard to handle. It happened a few times. Sometimes it wasn't overt, but there were a couple of occasions where it was, and it was pretty hard.
I lost a lot of friends. my partner was also diagnosed, so we stayed together. But unfortunately, he passed away in 1989. And then I put myself out on the scene and wasn't really looking for a relationship. And then all of a sudden, bang, it happened. And we spent 18 wonderful years together. And then he went and died on me. So now it's got to the stage where I'm too scared to get involved with anybody, because my biggest fear is that if I do, they're going to get sick and I'm going to have to go through it again. Now, I know I'm a pretty strong person, but I don't think I can do it 3 times.
No. Yeah. Most of my friends of the 80s, I probably had about 50% die. And part of that was because I was part of a positive friends group. So a lot of them died just as part of the deal. You know, it was the late 80s, there were no effective treatments. So unfortunately, because I knew a lot of positive people, then of course I was going to a lot of funerals. So we had about 30 people when we set up in 1986, and 92 when we stopped the group. There was only 3 of us left. So that gives you an idea of the mortality rate. That's pretty awful, and how you live with that in your system, and that grief and loss. It sort of takes quite a few years to work out your system.
Have either of you guys heard about the Grim Reaper ads that came out in the 80s? Because that was pretty significant amount.
It was very daunting, and I just thought, if I get HIV, then it's the end. That's all. Then I'll just accept that, and that's the end. But that's not the case at all. It was an amazing, confronting, home-hitting ad, but in context, that was a period when they didn't have a lot of education or information. They didn't know a lot about the virus. They needed to do what they could do to curb transmission. So I think in context, at that time, it was a really effective ad, and it did a great job. It's just unfortunate that we're still fighting the stigma 30 years later.
I only just saw it recently. It was just pretty shocking that they actually were able to do that. But from the context of today, you're just like, wow, I cannot believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
Some people say it was a good thing because it woke up Australian society. It only worked for about 3 weeks or something. It's such a significant effect on people thinking about the risks of HIV that it woke everyone up. Some people will say it encouraged government to fund HIV in a much better way and to work with the community, because we, the positive community, we didn't have much of an organisation then, but we said, look, this is the wrong approach. It's great that you've decided to do something about HIV and make it an Australia-wide concern, but what you also need to do is target people. You need to do ads that will work for the gay community.
I was diagnosed just over a year ago now. It wasn't a great feeling at the point in time, but I went to a pretty good clinic, and so they explained everything very well. Because my family doesn't live here, so I kind of didn't have anyone to sort of immediately go to, and I didn't really think it was an appropriate conversation to have over the phone. And so I kind of spent a little bit of time alone to sort of process it all. Like, the information that was available sort of was comforting, while at the same time it was still trying to picture what my life was going to look like moving forward and what I would kind of have to adjust for that. It wasn't, it didn't feel like doom and gloom, but it wasn't, the happiest day of my life.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed just over 3 years ago, and I was pretty upset about the whole thing. Really, I felt pretty sick. I've been sick for a couple of weeks, and I was really nervous about it.
To get your support.
Yeah, look, my friends and family were fantastic. First off, and then I came to live in Victoria and did the Phoenix course. I did the Phoenix course, not really thinking that I needed to do it. I thought I was already quite cool with the whole thing. But then being in a room with a whole lot of people that have been through the same thing was incredible. It was the first time I'd ever felt that. And I got really upset and spent the first night in tears.
Really?
Yeah,
And
made the whole thing about me, and I thought I was fine. But
okay.
just talking out loud about everyone having similar fears and that type of thing. It was not. It was a nice cry. It was good.
So did either of you two feel angry at all when you were first diagnosed?
I was pretty angry at myself, just because I thought, like I said, there's all the information available, and I think the attitude I think right now is that it will never happen to me, because of all of this readily available information. You kind of put the responsibility on other people except yourself, and so I was frustrated with myself, and it took me a while to get over that anger and sort of just accept that it has happened and you can't change that.
Yeah. Do you feel that the younger generation have a complacency about HIV and what can happen and what can't happen, and they're just sort of basically playing Russian roulette?
I think there's a degree of complacency, but I think it's very much dependent on the individual. So I think some individuals are very informed and will make decisions accordingly in terms of who they'll engage with. So they might consider, having sex with someone that's positive, for instance, whereas other people make a lot of assumptions without open communication. They'll assume status, they'll engage a certain way because that person looks good or they're familiar with them. And that kind of complacency still sort of plays in, I think, to the transmissions that we're getting today, and people are still being diagnosed.
If you're involved in some activism in HIV, what are you involved with?
Sure. Well, look, I don't know if I'd really call myself an activist, but I guess one thing that I figured out when I was diagnosed is that despite being around HIV for a long time and having all that information in front of me, I didn't know much about it. So I sort of thought, well, why didn't I know much about it? And one of those things is that I never felt comfortable having a conversation with my friends that had it, so I didn't want to make them uncomfortable. So I do this speaking for a group that LPV organised called the Speakers Bureau. And we go out to schools, groups of doctors that are learning to prescribe HIV medication, etc., and just talk about our experience. And when I first started doing it, I was quite nervous about it. And it's a nice reminder for me when I do it of how far I've come since I was diagnosed and my own understanding of the disease and my own mental health with the whole thing. For me, that was the big thing. So, if that makes someone out there a little bit more comfortable to be more informed. And
as you said, it's building your own confidence and understanding. Yeah.
So, Adam, I believe you're involved with Living Positive Victoria. I believe you're involved in that. What do you actually do and what does it entail?
Some of the other guys, I'm part of the Speakers Bureau. I recently joined the board and I'm getting some experience of governance in that kind of capacity. And also Gen Next, which is a young support group for those who are newly diagnosed. So a variety of different roles, but it's a way of being able to meaningfully engage and feel like I'm contributing and helping out. It gives me some satisfaction.
Well, I was diagnosed a couple of years ago, and it was sort of a double whammy because I was diagnosed with HIV and also Kaposi sarcoma, which scared me a lot. So my first thought was that I was living with a friend at the time, that I needed to go home and be with my family. So I did that, and luckily doctors have just been fantastic and everything is reversible and I'm in really good health. So I'm really thankful for every day. As we all should be.
Your family supportive of you during that period?
Yes. At first they were shocked. They were very scared to let me use the same towels and the same things in the home. But when I became undetectable, it really helped with everything with that. So they're no longer scared.
So even now, in recent times, the stigma about contagion or infection is still around. Yeah. That hasn't changed much, is it? In some cases.
Yeah, in some cases, the information's out there, but I guess you have to almost find it for yourself.
You've been getting involved in quite a bit of community activism around this HIV area. So what exactly have you been doing recently in that area?
I believe that education is the way forward. And as I mentioned earlier, lack of education was what not just held me back, but it also made me put a lot of internalized stigma onto myself. So, promising myself that one good thing needs to come from this, I decided that I needed to educate the community, not just the affected community, but the wider community, because they have a direct impact on the lived experience of the affected community. So yeah, I just organised a few campaigns where we walked 200 kilometres. HIV positive people walk 200 kilometres to prove to the world that nothing's holding us back and we can do anything we want to do. And also in Australia, from Portland to Penola, educating rural communities as we went along. And someone needs to put their hands up. I'm not asking everyone to do it, but someone needs to do it, and that's the only way. And I call it the pebble effect. The more pebbles we drop in the pond, the sooner the ripples will meet in the middle. So the more of us who sacrifice a little bit and put our names out there and our faces on these campaigns, the sooner we can educate the whole community. We're so fortunate to live in an era where you guys have done the hard yards for us, and we're at that point where we can just take our one pill and keep on going as if nothing's happened, pretty much.
What about you, Sam? Do you see this sort of ever coming to the point where we might be seeing the end of HIV?
To be perfectly honest with you, no, I really didn't. I must admit, in one aspect, I'm a bit out of my depth because I'm very much a loner. I'm just a homebody. But the only place I go to is the Positive Living Centre. I've made a few really good friends down there. But no, I really never thought we would get to this stage where there is a possibility that we can be cured. But then, you see, I had Hep C for 25 years, and I thought that was never going to be cured. But lo and behold, I'm Hep C free.
Did you ever think that there would be a campaign around about ending HIV?
I'm not surprised, because I think the only time that I could ever consider myself a part of a real community, a gay community as such, was in those early days of HIV and AIDS, and when everyone just mucked in, and from all walks of life, from none of the nastiness, everyone just thought, okay, we've got to beat this, we're our own support, we've got to support each other. And I really felt part of a community. And I thought, well, if that can happen, that's wonderful. I think it's just an evolution of what was started in the early days. And I have huge admiration for the people that are doing it. Yeah. And particularly people like yourselves who put your face to it. Not anonymous, you put your face to something.
You've also set an example for us. So I know you had to do it, but it's a great example for us because we can look up to you guys and say, well, they wanted to create change, valuable change. They had to come together, so we can follow your format and continue the good work.
And I think people of my generation appreciate that. The same as we appreciate you. I think you appreciate what we did. We appreciate what you do, and that's what community's about, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.